This week on the Buddy System, we talk about Buck's self-worth issues and his complicated relationships with his non-traditional parental figures in Maddie and Bobby.
How Bobby projects himself onto Buck and ends up taking away his autonomy while trying to protect him.
And Eddie reaching Buck in his depressive state when no one else could by giving him a purpose outside of firefighting. Christopher.
Have you ever watched something that completely rewired your brain chemistry?
A procedural network drama might not be your usual pick, but it's ours.
This is The Buddy System, a 911 deep dive podcast hosted by three friends who have DM'd each other enough character dissertations to earn a PhD in media literacy.
I'm Han, coming to you straight from the characters' heads.
I'm Sil, bringing you to the observation deck.
And I'm Rachel, connecting the dots with my red string.
With our powers combined,
no stone is left unturned.
And no buddy is left behind.
This episode is sponsored by Staying Home. Nothing bad happens when you stay home. Start your free trial today. Welcome to Dispatch. What's on call this week?
Today we're discussing Season 3, Episode 1, titled Kids Today, written by Kristen Rydell, directed by Jennifer Lynch, and it originally aired September 23rd, 2019.
Our first calls of the week of Season 3 are as follows. Close enough. Welcome back, Tony Stark. The kid's name was also Tony. So a teenager, Tony, apparently, a teenager takes his father's classic car out for a spin to impress his friends, only for the car's accelerator to get stuck, gaining speed on the highway. The next one is Eat Your Heart Out, John Bernthal. Fresh. That's so niche. Do I need to explain this?
John Bernthal, who you may know from many things, but most notably to us, The Punisher. He loves the taste of fake blood. So whenever, which on The Punisher a lot.
Like the corn syrup with red food dye. Yeah.
He loves it. So I don't know. There's a really funny story of him and Charlie Cox plays Daredevil, like just asking for more and more and more fake blood in their mouths.
So
that's the correlation.
With that context, thank you.
And Oliver Stark loves John Bernthal, so
this is the connection, okay? So, with that context, eat your heart out, John Bernthal. Fresh off his recertification test and surrounded by friends and family, Buck's surprise celebration takes a turn for the worse when he starts coughing up blood caused by blood clots. The next one is Fuck Around and Find Out, where an elderly man develops a flesh-eating STD that may have started an outbreak within his nursing home community. And the last one is Baby on Board. A woman calls 911 to report she's been stabbed and kidnapped, only for Maddie and the first responders to discover that she is pregnant and her baby might have been stolen from her. So this is officially, we're in it. We're in Season 3.
We did it, guys.
We did it.
We're here.
We did it.
We're here. It feels a little like not as climactic as Season 2 because we were like
Eddie
feral to start with the Eddie stuff, but trust that we are almost as excited for the Tsunami arc.
Yeah, I think when we started the podcast, we were like, oh my God, can't wait till we get to Season 2 and then Season 3 so we can talk about Tsunami stuff. It was like, that was the goal in mind. Like, if we can get that far, like, we're good.
I mean, we're going to keep going.
We're going to keep going.
Sorry to say.
Sorry, not sorry. This is too much fun for us. But what did you guys think of rewatching 301?
This is a Buck episode, so I love it.
That was a stupid question then, huh?
Yeah. And they really fucking tortured him. Like, with the finale of 2 and then the whole like first half of Season 3.
Yeah.
Just like hit after hit for him. But yeah, like I think 5 months have passed and he worked so hard to get back where he is. And then they just bonked him back down and he's, spiraling the fuck out. It's great. It's one of my favorite Buck looks.
Isn't it all of ours?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just so fun. Oliver does it so well.
It makes it so enjoyable.
And then, of course, it's the start of the Tsunami arc, which I love. And it's the start of very much being like, Chris is Buck's kid. Chris is Buck's kid. They're telling us Chris is Buck's kid. So I'm here for all of that. I love it. Give me 20 more. Give me 100 more.
Seasons or episodes?
Episodes. Like this. Like the Tsunami arc.
Oh.
I'm waiting for them to fucking top it. Like,
yeah.
I'm not sure how they could.
Well, they haven't done a Buck opening emergency again. And I'm so sorry. How are you going to top it if you don't?
That's a good point.
You know, we just did like 2
Bobby and Athena.
like Bobby Athena ones in a row.
Yeah, I feel like if we switch it up, like we could get we should get another Buck opening emergency, or maybe like even Eddie could have his own opening emergency. I think it'd be
Eddie should get his own opening emergency.
Yeah.
That'd be good too. Let's do that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear Tim Minear.
Isn't this entire podcast just like, dear Tim Minear?
Tim Minear.
Thank you. And also, we hate you. In a loving way.
And also, don't trust you.
We don't trust you, but also like...
Depends on what we're talking about.
We trust you, but we also don't trust you. You know what I mean? Trust you with overall story, but we don't trust you to like be honest in any of your interviews.
Oh my God. I just found a hilarious interview. It's not from this time. It's like much later on where he refers to himself as a Bond villain.
I mean, with that astrological placement, absolutely.
That's what I was thinking about the whole time. It was like in season, I think 5 or 6 or something. It was like 2022. So it was like after COVID, and he said like he's been doing editing and everything from like his house for a couple of years now. Like he's in his chair with all of his screens, like looking at the live feeds and then looking at the dailies and doing the editing.
I feel sometimes.
And he's like,
sitting
like a Bond villain. And I'm just like, at least you're aware. At least you're self-aware enough.
Yeah.
That was so I'll bring that back like
that's hilarious
down the line. But I just thought that was really funny and I needed to tell you guys.
I think it's a good setting up episode. I mean, just like I'm pretty sure the Tsunami arc is everyone's favorite opening emergency.
Like ratings wise and too, right?
Yeah. Rating wise too. I've seen that. But yeah, no, it's a good setting up episode. I love the emotional arc that Buck goes through and how he ends up having to babysit Christopher. So, and then everything else that happens after that, but we won't be talking about that till next episode. It's just good. It's just good.
Chef's kiss. Good.
Yeah, I can't. No complaints. Nothing to change.
Yeah. One of the things that I really love about 911 is how, like, thematically consistent they are with their seasons. So, like, a season premiere is always going to be important, right? Because it sets up the story for the whole season. But I feel like with 911, they are so, like, they keep such a tight ship, for lack of a better metaphor, that, you know, the themes that they set up and the building of the character arcs, that they really do set it up very well in like the season premieres, and they follow through with that. I know in some shows, like it feels like it can kind of, it just happens when you have a lot of episodes. Sometimes it feels like there are little threads that get lost, but like I always feel like 911 picks it back up, and that's probably also what a lot of people are feeling with like season 8 as well. Like, have we lost the plot? And I'm always like, no, they will pick it back up.
We're just on a detour.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just making a pit stop.
It's a little side quest, but like, because when you look at them in retrospect, and that's why I like doing these rewatches too, because we know what's happening at the end of season 3, so we can then like look back at the beginning of it and kind of be like, oh, this is what they were setting up from the very beginning. This is what we were saying, like with season 2 with Shannon and everything like that. Like they really stick to their plan, and I appreciate that about them. So I'm always like curious when we get to some of these big like season premiere, mid-season premiere sort of things, like what we're really going to be diving into again and how they set that up. And I think it's done very well. And just like season 3 is the GOAT, you know?
It kind of is that bitch.
It's that girl. It's that girl.
I always said that as far as 911 seasons go, like if I had to rank them, I always said that it's between 3 and 4 being my favorites. Because, well, we're not going to talk about in detail what happens after 4.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, everyone's going to be hearing about that. But yeah, season 3 and season 4 have always been like my top tier 911 season. Season 2 falls behind that, I think. Season 1 down at the bottom. Somewhere down at the bottom. I don't know. 5, 6, and 1 are somewhere down there. And then 7, maybe under season 2. But they gave us $5, so that's why I'm like, I don't know.
That really like lifts it a lot, right?
And controversial, I love the Vertigo storyline.
Is it true? It is a good season, actually.
All 3 of us love it.
Yeah, we do.
Like like I'm so sorry, people who say that they are not a fan of the Vertigo storyline. We are all big fans.
2 and 7 are tied then. Somewhere tied.
Yeah. No, 3 is, I think it's like as close to a perfect season as you can get. Like, especially when you look at it, like where it starts and where it ends. Like, it's just, I don't know. I really like it. I think it's my favorite season finale out of them. I wish they would do them like that, but we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Eventually.
We've got a bit. We've got full 18 episodes
We've
for
got
season 3
18
again.
episodes.
Love listening to the Buddy System? Please leave us a 5-star rating. And if you write a review, we'll give you a personal shout out on our next recorded episode. Also, you can become a buddy with benefits by joining our $5 tier on Patreon. You'll get bonus buddy content like early access to unedited 911 episode reactions. They will be available on Patreon the Friday after new episodes before it's edited and condensed for YouTube.
You'll also get exclusive voting power on weekly livestream topics. A poll will be out before each stream. This Patreon tier gets to choose our opening topics. Missed a live stream? No problem. Recordings will be on Patreon.
You'll also get behind the scenes podcast content, which is exclusive access to cutting room floor clips. So the stuff that doesn't make it into the episode, like outtakes, off-topic chatter, which there's a lot of, out of sync singing, because we're all in different places, story time, and more, because we never stop yapping. And you'll also get bonus hiatus reactions to Oliver and Ryan's filmography starting in June 2025. So twice a month during the summer and mid-season hiatus, we will watch one of their films and post the like full unedited reaction video of it.
We're gonna need the jaws of life over here.
So yeah, let's dive deep into this episode.
How many water puns are we going to come up with this time?
Oh no, that's you, man.
I'm going to have to start like writing them
list.
down, making a list. This is the time where we can really say like deep dive, like diving deep.
Literally
like,
deep dive.
Splash. Yeah. Okay, so in This Week in 911 press history, there was an announcement for new additions to the cast. So from Deadline, and there were a bunch of other news outlets that picked this up, but they would essentially say the same thing about Ronda Rousey, set to have a recurring role in season 3 of Fox's First Responders drama. So Ronda Rousey is the first women's UFC bantamweight champion and Olympic medalist in judo. She's been considered to be one of the most dominant athletes in UFC history, which is Ultimate Fighting. And she has also performed on the WWE's Monday Night Raw. So that's like her athletic career. But as an actor, she was seen in STX's feature Mile 22, where she was acting opposite of Mark Wahlberg and John Malkovich. And she also executive produced the Emmy-nominated Go 90 series, Why We Fight, for ESPN. So kind of like with the beginning of season 2 and last season, where there were big announcements about, Jennifer Love Hewitt joining the cast and Ryan Guzman joining the cast. So anytime there's like a big guest star, especially recurring role, it's going to drum up some press and some excitement about it. So obviously, Ronda Rousey's character, Lena Bosco, will have a significant role in the first half or so of season 3. And then there was an article from TV Insider. 911 boss Tim Minear teases major crises and possible death in season 3. So this one was basically just, Tim Minear previewing the emergencies, doing like a little blurb about like the runaway driver, the baby on board, and the natural disaster. And and this is where like things get a little clickbaity, because he was just like, and some of them may not survive, in typical, Tim Minear fashion, just being like, maybe not everyone's safe. I don't know. Also around this time, there was a lot of news about the 911 spinoff, 911 Lone Star. I think around this week, and probably a little like earlier in that summer hiatus, they were starting to release casting news for Lone Star as well. And as we know, Tim Minear would have also been pulling like double duty with those. So we just saw that like Liv Tyler was going to be starring in Lone Star. There was also a couple other announcements I didn't write down, but just like in terms of real life timeline of when Lone Star started and how that like coincided with where 911 was, it was around now. So I think I read that Lone Star was going to start mid-season, so that I believe would have been like a January release, so like midpoint of season 3,
in the middle of the ocean.
Why does this keep happening to us? Like, we're talking about the beginning of the tsunami arc.
Are we cursed? Are we like prophets? What is going on? Is 911 like a Ouija board, and we should not have
well we should not have opened it.
Disturbed the spirits?
No. Well, one of the articles, the article that I was going to talk about next week, Minear said something about like, I'll take it out of this. This is just us talking. But he was talking about how like in the summer of 2019, after the season 2, when they opened with an earthquake, a 7.1 earthquake, apparently there was a 7.1 earthquake that happened in July of 2019. So he's like, sorry for accidentally predicting disasters. We don't actually want a tsunami to happen. And I'm just like, no, but this has happened too many times, because it's done that.
I think that man is cursed.
The bee's the fire tornado. Well, actually, the fire tornado wasn't happened, but we did get it.
If he writes it, it's gonna happen.
Is he Chuck? What's happening?
We've said this before, but then also it's like, are we somehow tapped into that like line of universal
weird
communication
juju energy
of that? Because this stuff keeps happening to us too.
Hey, I'm gonna win the lottery. I'm speaking.
We're gonna be independently wealthy, and be able to make a living off of our podcasts. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Manifesting. Let's do that instead of the earthquakes and the tsunami.
Yeah,
that would be fucking fantastic.
Please?
What the hell?
Okay, well,
now that we derail.
So sorry, guys.
Oh yeah, we can do a lot of derailing in this season too. Just prepare thyself.
Please don't say that. I'm going to be on a train next week.
Some
I'm
derailing.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that.
Some digging in the mud.
This is the best season for puns. Let's be real. This is why season 3 is so goated. It's the best pun season. I'm gonna have so much fun. I'm so sorry that I'm not sorry to everyone listening.
So Needledrop, we have just 2 to talk about in this section, and then I'm gonna have to talk about 2 of the other ones in slow burn for reasons which we will discuss at the end of this episode. So just really quickly, we get our first Needledrop of the episode when Tony is trying to run into the fire engine to stop the car, and his dad loves Phil Collins, so that starts playing. It's Phil Collins's in the air tonight. And if you don't know that song,
it's fantastic.
It's fantastic. You need to listen to it.
The drama.
It's so dramatic. They used it for teasers for season 8. And we hoped they would put it in an episode again, but they didn't.
Yeah.
It's just very epic.
It is an epic song. And I loved the editing for where they put the song in this episode, where like, because it's a very 80s song and it's very heavy on the drums, like it has the whole drum breakdown that I wanted to open the episode with, and Han said no, and it's okay. But
I said we could try, but the mic wouldn't pick up. Because like whenever we laugh, the noise, the vocal isolation doesn't pick it up half the time.
I know. I'm just pulling it like. So they have it timed in the episode where the drum breaks down right at the point of impact, and it's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. I also think it's a really good like baseline lyrical foreshadowing of the opening emergency. They're like, I can feel it coming, because you know something ominous is going to happen for an opening emergency. It's 911. So
true.
There's that, and then there is the band is called The. What a band name choice.
It's like the Who or the Guess Who. The. I don't know.
I don't fucking know. This is the day. And it's playing in the pier montage with Christopher and Buck at the end, where he's kind of having his like existential crisis about what he's going to be doing with his life if he can't firefight, because he cannot picture it and he doesn't want to, but he is like, he feels like the universe is taunting him, and he's like, he's at the pier with this like very happy 7-year-old, and he's just like, my whole life is falling. But the song has like kind of like a seize the day kind of feel message. Yeah, with lyrics like, this is the day your life will surely change. It will.
Sure will.
This is the day when things fall into place. Congratulations. Sure, you're the father of a healthy 7-year-old boy. Here's a cigar.
When things will fall into place. Oh, you mean like fall into the will?
Oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, that is the regular needle drop, and we will have the Buddie needle drop later.
Yeah, I thought that song was really interesting because it's got like a very like positive sort of feeling. Meanwhile, Buck is just like lamenting everything about his life, right? In deep depression right now, and it's just like, you know, it also goes on to say like, you could have done anything if you wanted, and all your friends and family think that you're lucky, but the side of you they'll never see is when you're left alone with your memories that hold your life together like glue. So it's a little bit of an undercurrent of just kind of like, oh, well, I don't even know what to say about that, but
everyone thinks that he's lucky. Not only that like he can walk, you know, and like live a normal life, but that he survived that embolism. So like everyone thinks he's lucky, that he should be grateful for that. And like that there's so many other things that he could do with his life that would still bring his life meaning. And that like regardless of what he does, like they will still love him. And he like his life has meaning to them because he means something to them. But like he doesn't
see it that way.
The self-worth issues are real.
And raging.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out those lyrics because I caught those as I was rewatching last night. I was like, oh, so sad. So sorry for Buck. All right. So moving on into our red string corner. I've connected the dots.
You didn't connect shit.
There's a couple things I think we'd like to point out, you know, as continuing as we go forward. I'm trying to point out, you know, the writers and directors and what we've seen from them previously. So Jennifer Lynch, who directed this episode, we most recently saw her work in season 2 with the Begins episodes. So she did Hen Begins, Chimney Begins, Bobby Begins Again. And we praised that for having such consistent, like such consistency in the connective tissue for the Begins episodes. So Bradley Bucher didn't do the first episode. Oh no, that's because he does. I'm pretty sure because he does the next 2. Yeah, that's why. they bring Brad out for the big emergencies. So this episode was also written by Kristen Rydell, and from what we saw from season 2, she wrote Awful People, New Beginnings, and Fight or Flight. So that's 205, 211, and 213. So with those last 3 episodes that we saw of her in season 2, I think thematically they were kind of similar. Fight or Flight and New Beginnings definitely had a lot of like through threads with being very Maddie and Chimney like heavy episodes, and Awful People was a big theme last season. I think we see a little bit of it here and there. So just to keep that in mind. And then I think when we were watching and it was the nursing home call, and the dad opened the door, and I'm like, I feel like I know his voice. It sounds so similar. And I'm like, I want to say it's like Philicides from Hercules, but I know that was Danny DeVito. Well, I looked it up, and Danny DeVito did do Phil, like the half man, half goat. What do you call those?
Fawns? A fawn is a half human and half goat mythological creature.
Oh, okay. So Danny DeVito did do Phil in Hercules the movie, but Robert Costanzo, who plays Jack in the nursing home, voiced Phil in the Hercules animated show.
Did he also do Kingdom Hearts, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I think he did.
Oh, are you thinking of a satyr?
Yes.
Okay, that's
so
another word for it.
Philicides, the satyr. That's it. So I just wanted to shout that out for anyone who, like me, was like, that sounds really familiar. Because I think that every single time I watch that, and I'm like, but I know it's not Danny DeVito, but it's close enough. And then I know we have just a couple minutes left, but we spent like 10 minutes looking at earthquake stuff.
Wasn't expecting that.
No. So I don't know if any of you guys picked out a couple parallels, but I thought Jill, the mom who called Maddie at dispatch and was the stabbing victim, and got her baby kidnapped. I just thought, she's a mom in a yellow flowy shirt. And who does that remind you of? Is Shannon.
It also could possibly be paralleling season 8 if G gets kidnapped.
Mm-hmm. Or 8 would be paralleling that, but like I'm looking from this backwards. Yeah. So I don't know that, like, anytime like that kind of similar aesthetic, I think I'm just like, oh, a Shannon mirror. And then I think when we were watching Han, you said like, oh, so all the other moms get to live. But not
yes, Shannon does not.
No. So that's the parallel that I saw. For any foreshadowing, I thought there were a couple things of foreshadowing, specifically for the finale. So things to keep in mind. Bobby says at the very beginning when they're getting ready to leave to help out Tony, the kid in the runaway car, Bobby's like, it's basically like he's in a runaway freight train. Just an offhand remark. And then at the little park, when Bobby and Athena are looking for Jill in the car, there's a little toy train, like a little train ride at the park. And that's like the train whistle that clued Maddie in. So just saying, there are 2 references to trains in the season premiere. Just keep that in mind. And then, well, we've talked about the well. So there's also, Tony, the kid in the car, says that his dad is a stick in the mud. And what other dad will also be stuck in the mud, I wonder. and this one's a stretch to me. But like, to me, Jill, in the mom in the trunk of the car, where it's very like dark, secluded, like kind of like a little caved in area and trapped, just kind of feels like a little bit of a well of the trunk, if you will.
Oh my God.
Which all could mean nothing. I'm just saying, once again, yeah, I'm pretty sure they had all of this, planned out very, very early on. So I will call it out when I see it.
I have two things that might have been intentional, and then I have a thing that's definitely not intentional, but I'm still going to talk about it. So for parallels, I have that the surprise party for Buck is kind of mirroring the badge ceremony for Eddie. Because it's all of the found family in one place, like to celebrate them.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Because we also get one.
I know. And we also get our first and second buddy hugs at these events. So like we close season 2 with a buddy hug at this event. And then we open season 3 with a buddy hug at a mirroring event.
Oh, that's perfect.
Take from that what you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then for foreshadowing, I have Eddie's quote when he is at the 118 and they're talking about Buck. And he says, look, I know it sucks, but that's life, right? Whenever stuff didn't work out for me, my dad always told me to brush it off, keep moving forward. It wasn't easy, but he wasn't wrong. How's that working out for you, bud?
I was going to talk about that in slow burn.
How is that working out? I think that's just foreshadowing for like how he doesn't fucking deal with his shit.
No.
And how that's going to blow up in his face.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
just in general.
That's one of our first. I mean, like we met his dad and we see that he's a piece of work, but like that's one of our first, like out of Eddie's mouth, bullshit that his dad has said to him that is living in his brain. You know what I mean?
The wisdom that has been imparted onto him.
Yeah. That like he resents his dad. He doesn't like his dad. He doesn't want a parent like his dad. But for some reason, his brain has latched onto these things that his dad taught him about how he should live his life. And it's making him fucking miserable and making him do crazy shit.
And this is why he needs a therapist for generational trauma.
So real.
That is that is the playbook.
Yes. It's like he's breaking the generational trauma as a parent, but he's not doing it
for
himself.
Well, which is just in line with everything else that Eddie...
Right. But the problem with him not breaking it with himself is that now he is imparting trauma onto his kid.
Yeah, well.
Because he's not dealing with it. So anyway, that's just this is just foreshadowing for the Eddie that we all know and love.
Yeah. I also have the talk that Buck had with Hen and Karen about, sperm donorship.
Mm-hmm.
That was obviously not planned out that far in advance, but just like interesting in the context.
I thought you were talking about like their 5-season long arc to like expand their family.
Oh, well. In a general sense, yes, but I'm talking specifically at his party dinner. Yeah, when they're talking about it. I'm just like, that's weird. I don't think that one was intentional at all.
It doesn't matter if it is or not. It's still there in the text. I think the overarching theme of like this entire season, starting with this episode, is our parent-child relationships as family. Sure. This episode specifically is focusing on parents and children. And then you've got a lot of things that fall under that.
Yeah, like children being afraid or not wanting to disappoint their parents, or parents that are just disappointing in general. Parents may be having some wrong priorities, even if it's in the hopes of protecting their kids. Mm-hmm. And then also maybe a little bit of a parentified children, where the children are taking on a parental role, kind of like the adult kids at the nursing home parenting their elderly parent, right? So that kind of stuff. And I mean, this whole episode, like Kids Today, it's about parents and children.
Yeah.
Is Athena the one who says that line?
She says it first, and then Eddie says it later.
Does he say it at the nursing home?
He does.
I think you also have protective parents, and you've got parenthood in there as well.
Just in general.
Unintended. Always.
What?
Unintended?
Parenthood.
Wait, was that a pun?
Just Peter Krause. It's a really good show. TJ and I watched it together. We really liked it.
It went on for a number of seasons, I think, right?
Yeah, and Lauren Graham's on it.
Yeah. Okay. Another theme of this episode, but I think what ends up happening is that a lot of the themes that are set up in the first couple of episodes, so like this episode and then the opening emergency, are themes that we're going to see throughout. Oops. Hold on. Are themes that we're going to see throughout the entire season. So ignoring a problem hoping it will go away, kind of maybe not like being super proactive about stuff. That definitely pops up a couple times. And then I think we also see this element of keep fighting, right? Like almost a keep fighting or die. Like those are your options. Kind of like fight or flight extrapolated to like entire season, right? Where you just keep on going, just put one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm.
Keep fighting.
Keep swimming.
Yeah, just keep swimming. That was going to be the theme that I put for next.
Oh, spoiler.
So we see something like that with, Maddie talking to Jill and Jill saying, I don't want to die. So Maddie says, you're not going to, just keep fighting and we'll get through this together. And then we see that again with Buck fighting to get back to work, which is his life. So just like this effort to just keep going and to get back to where you want to be, sort of thing. So we'll see that a lot.
Who's cooking?
Who's cooking? Well, Bobby and Athena are apparently the barbecue in the backyard kind of couple that they talked about in the last season, because they host the party. And it's really cute.
I would just like to note that it was insane of him to drop that him and Athena got married like on a call.
On the way to a call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which like the first time I think I watched the first watch through, I didn't realize like, oh, he didn't tell anybody yet. And it's been 5 months. So canonically in universe, it's been 5 months because the way that Hen and Chimney react to when Bobby's like, when Hen says, what kind of crazy person came up with this plan? And Bobby's just like, my wife.
So dramatic. It was like he was waiting for the most dramatic way to reveal that. Like,
right? Because, and to me, it has to be just this brand new piece of news, because the way Hen reacts is just kind of like, really? The way Hen reacts is just kind of like, what? And she like turns around to try to look at him. And you see Chimney as well react to it, just kind of like, did you know? And that's also a little bit crazy to me because like Buck says it's been 5 months of like rehab surgeries, all that stuff. So it's been 5 months of Bobby and Athena being married and they haven't told anybody.
So yeah, I mean, rightfully so, everyone is giving them shit at their party.
Michael.
It's something I would do.
Yeah, Michael especially.
Yeah.
Like, so everyone else is kind of like joking about it. So like, don't be offended that we didn't invite you. And he's like, that's all right. Well, Chimney's funny about it because he's like, well, don't be offended if I don't get you a present. Like,
right?
You didn't invite me.
But Michael is so passive aggressive. He's like, oh, well, thanks for letting me know, sort of thing. And
when, like, sorry to get ahead of myself, but when Maddie and Chimney are like being all cutesy and Buck's like, when's the wedding? And then he passes by and he's like, don't forget to invite us. Like
that's not even in like Bobby or Athena's earshot. He's just
like going through it, and he's like walking through this house that he designed and built. Right? Used to be his, and he's looking like he feels like he's like an outsider looking in on what used to be his home and his family.
Yeah,
like he's looking at the photos of them from the wedding and stuff where he's not in it. And so, yeah, he's kind of going through it. He's feeling like an outsider in his own family.
Yeah. And we already know that he can get like easily insecure about stuff like that because of what happened between him and Harry last season. And I think that will also be kind of interesting for his arc later on this season as well. But it's just like, at least he's being kind of funny about it this time. But like laying on that passive aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Yuck.
It's crazy. But yeah, then we also,
it's kind of fair.
It is fair. I would be pissed too. But yeah, we also get to, like, on the other side of the coin, we get to see that Bobby is like kind of fully integrated into the, Nash Grant Nash household now. He knows where things are that May doesn't, like in the house when he's like telling her to go get the platter or whatever, and like he's in the pictures and he's in his element, like having all of his people over.
It's where
really,
he belongs. It's his element.
It's where he belongs. So like we see that he is like very happy and comfortable. And we see that he's, you know, in his stepdad era now. He's out of, you know,
Best buddy Bobby.
Best buddy Bobby. As fun as that is to say, he is no longer.
He can be our best buddy Bobby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think like the meat of like Bobby and Athena that I want to get into is the conversation that they have about Buck.
Mm-hmm.
After he has, you know, the embolism at their house at the party they were throwing for him.
Oh, what a downer.
Yeah, it's a lot. So basically, we're going to talk about this a little more later because we're going to have a scene dissection about Bobby and
Buck.
Yeah.
There's a lot to get into with that.
This is one of several examples in this series where Athena gives him good advice and he just completely ignores it and then suffers the consequences. So she says, you know, they're having a conversation because all of that just happened, and Buck texts them and is apologizing for the blood, and Athena starts talking about like she raised 2 kids and like with a little bit of ammonia, they'll get out, everything's fine, and says that she's glad he's okay, and then says he is okay, right? And then Bobby's kind of like hemming hawing, like he was laser focused on coming back to work and I thought he was ready, but now I have to wonder. And she says, you're worried he's pushing too hard. And he's like, that's what I did. I thought I could handle it. I lied to everybody. I ignored the pain, and I don't want to making the same mistakes that I did. The job means a lot, but it shouldn't mean everything. That's the only part that has any merit here. The job means a lot, but it shouldn't mean everything.
Exactly.
Everything else is about him. He's projecting. He's got to learn that. And then Athena's basically like, yeah, I understand the impulse. She doesn't say this, but this is like the meaning. She's like, yeah, I understand the impulse to be overprotective of your children. Basically.
Yeah, because she then follows that up with what I do with my kids.
Yes. She's like, my instinct is to throw myself in front of them and cushion the fall. And Bobby's like, well, Buck's not my kid. And she's like, no, but he's also not you. How did he take that and go, yes, I will do the exact opposite of this?
Mm-hmm.
Insane. Athena Grant tells me to do something, like 99.9% chance
you better
that
do
I'm
it.
going to do it. Like she's wiser and smarter than me.
Yeah, it's like, I think just so much of Bobby's motivations, because we at this point in time, we don't know that it's Bobby that's kind of inhibiting Buck's return to the department.
I was going to ask if he was already inhibiting it or if like that these were the initial orders.
Okay.
From the chief, because we don't actually know.
Here's kind of what I'm thinking, right? Because and maybe we'll get into it a little bit more during the scene dissection, because he gets the call from the chief and goes to visit Buck, but he gets the call from the chief and we don't know what it is. I feel like he's kind of made up his mind a little bit to like he's gonna recommend something else. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but I was kind of reading it with the whole like, yeah, he's kind of maybe putting up some obstacles for that protection, because why else would Athena bring up that kind of stuff where it's like, yeah, you want to put yourself in front of them and cushion the blow, and have him not do that? I feel like that just sets up him doing that exact same thing, like kind of from the get-go.
Yeah. Well, and she specifically, like, he says he's not my kid, and she just goes on to like continue to talk to him like he's Bobby's kid, because that's how he feels and is treating him. And when she says he's not you, she then follows it up with like, maybe he's making the same mistakes you did, but maybe he's not. There's only one way to find out for sure. And Bobby's like, just wait and see. And she's like, you got to let them grow up. And Bobby is like, no, I don't think I will.
I think so much of this does come from, I feel like Bobby feels like he understands Buck, but I don't think he truly does to some extent, because Bobby says, like, you know, the job should mean a lot, but it shouldn't mean everything. And it's like, if you truly understood Buck, you would know that like he doesn't have anything else in his life, which like Hen talks about later. So like, how do you not understand that it shouldn't mean everything, yes, but like, what are you doing to help it not mean everything?
Mhm.
Which I think is what they're trying to do with, the party and everything like that. But, what else does Buck have? Everything, every person in his life is so tied to the 118. Like when he says firefighting is his life, like that is his purpose, but the firefighting is his life also in the way that like the 118 is his family, is his life too. And those can't really be, like torn apart, right? You can't really separate those for Buck, at least. So while the job shouldn't mean everything else that does mean something to Buck relates to the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much of what informs Bobby's motivations, whether it's decided now or a little bit down the road, comes from what we saw in Bobby Begins Again, where he was like, put me in, coach. And that was not the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's just really trying to be proactive in like falling on his sword to prevent Buck from doing the same. But he's not letting Buck be his own person with, autonomy,
because he does see him like a kid, and it's equal parts like Bobby is like, sees him as his kid, doesn't want to feel like that's his kid, and is also like, I can't lose another kid.
Exactly.
He thinks that him and Buck are more similar than they actually are. Mm-hmm. They do have a lot of similarities, but like, this is not one of them, because Buck is pushing himself for the love of the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is all he has, and that's part of the reason, and that's not healthy. He should probably have stuff outside of the job, and he should probably go to therapy, but that doesn't mean he's like not qualified to come back to the job until he has a social life.
Yeah. I know.
Sorry, you can't be a firefighter until I see that you have hobbies.
What a weird stipulation.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's just Bobby, like in kind of the same way that at the beginning of season 2 was a lot about, independence, and autonomy. This is kind of following that same kind of thing, where he's removing Buck's autonomy from himself. And
people love to do that to Buck.
They do. It happens a lot. And it's because I think people think that they know better than Buck, because they think Buck makes reckless decisions. But his reckless decisions are kind of calculated for risk and taken into account.
But they're also his decisions.
Yeah, but they're also his. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they are his mistakes to make if those risks aren't calculated correctly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You gotta let
him grow up sometime.
Yeah.
It's just really funny how, like, I think Bobby and Maddie are kind of having that same conversation. I think in the hospital, how she's still raising like a 28-year-old.
Those are his parents.
Yeah.
His sister mom and his boss dad.
Yeah. And his stepmom. With Athena.
And his stepmom, who actually wants to parent him correctly.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, I love that scene with all three of them in the hospital at the end, where they're just kind of like reminiscing about Buck and parenting Buck. And then asking each other about like,
so babies.
Well, and I think it's cute that him and Maddie talk, because we know that from the scene later at the 118. He's like, Maddie said, and I'm like, oh, you two are calling each other? Talking about your kid?
I feel like they kind of have to, because I guess like Bobby was attending a lot of Buck's rehabs.
Yeah.
So I guess like they're both like, maybe like Buck's not saying how he's feeling, so they kind of had to have those lines of communication open.
Yeah.
Makes
now
sense.
If we can just have that with Maddie and Eddie.
For fucking real. It's been 8 seasons.
I know.
We parallel each other so much. Like, why are we not? I know why we're not, but like, do it now. Okay. Speaking of Maddie.
Let's talk about Maddie and Chimney.
We kind of already did talk about Maddie at the hospital with Buck a little bit, but we can talk about her just.
Oh my God. The face that she makes when when Buck is talking to her and he's like, I didn't ignore it. I just thought it was a cramp. I thought it was like,
which I think
super,
is normal.
It's totally fine.
Do you know how much shit I ignore as like random pain? I'm just like,
yeah,
it's probably fine. If I don't feel like I'm dying, I don't need, like, that's an American thing. If you don't feel like you're actively dying, you're not going to the doctor.
No.
Yeah.
And Buck isn't hypochondriac, like,
no,
at all.
No.
So I think it's totally understandable that he thought that it was, like a cramp or something. And the face that Maddie gets when she starts hearing this stuff, which, like, on one hand, I totally understand because she was a nurse. So she knows to look out for these things and knows like the consequences of not dealing with certain things. However, like, she just gets like, it's giving, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. But also I'm furious.
But she's actually really mad.
Yeah, so it's very and Chimney, like, removes himself from the conversation for that, because that's not his place to be, understandably.
You know what I didn't think about until just now? This is probably really terrible for her because of Daniel. So, like, she just went through almost losing Buck, went through all of this stuff, being in the hospital and all this shit again, which probably brought up a lot of bad memories of being in the hospital with Daniel, and then thought everything was great, and then literally almost lost him again.
Oh, God.
So,
yeah,
I'd be pissed too.
Yeah, but also, like, maybe some of that fury comes from her not being able to, like, truly voice the pain that she's going through with seeing Buck like this.
Yeah. Because
she can't talk about it. So she's keeping that locked down. So the only thing that's really, and that would be like her fear, right? So the only thing that she's able to really express is the frustration and the anger.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, well, that fear is too closely attached to that thing that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
Then that just makes me really angry at the Buckley parents again. Like,
no, well, it comes back to them.
Yeah, it does. Oh, it sucks. God, I didn't even think about that.
I didn't either until just now. It just came up.
And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why Maddie does get so frustrated with Buck about wanting to get we didn't even connect it in the end of season 218 when, she's ripping his pants and we're like, why is she so aggro? I think this is why. Yeah. Because she's like, you're electing to have more
and you're
surgeries
not taking your
quickly.
Health seriously. Yeah.
Because she's already lost. Because she's already lost a brother and she can't talk about it. And so it just comes out in anger. Oof.
Ow.
That's so cool that it makes sense in retrospect when that probably wasn't even part of the storyline that any like the character like the actors knew yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they did. Maybe they had the backstory already, but
I don't know.
That would be a good question actually for Tim.
Yeah.
We need to start a doc. It's like questions for Tim.
Yeah. If we ever get to interview Tim Minear.
Manifest.
But yeah, so then I just wanted to talk a little bit about the scene of Maddie and Chimney together because it's very cute and it looks very like domestic. So they've been dating for 5 months.
Yeah.
This is what it should look like when you've been dating someone for 5 months.
I knew you were
or
going
even
there.
6.
I mean, like, Maddie and Chimney are kind of attached at the hip. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Because this is serious for them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for other people.
No.
Who are you guys talking about? I'm just like, I'm trying to
Tommy.
Fucking Tommy.
Oh, wow. How did that? Wow. Told you, brain not working today.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. No, because like Maddie and Chimney are having real conversations about their future together. They're communicating very openly and honest. Like, I think Maddie and Chimney have some of the best communication of any couple. I mean, Hen and Karen have really good communication too. But I think like Maddie and Chimney kind of top everybody else in terms of how they communicate as a couple, how they navigate their relationship. You know, it's 5, maybe 6 months into their relationship. They're already talking about kids. So they're already looking at a future together, first of all. Yeah. And these aren't like deal breaker sort of conversations for
No,
them.
it's a like, we decide what we want. And
Yeah.
she isn't like, oh, so we both think maybe. She's like, no, we
are a solid someday maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Which is like a non-committal thing, but it's still like a looking toward the future with.
It's still like a, we'll revisit this later.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but it's looking towards the future with optimism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in an episode where we're talking about parental relationships, and we know Maddie and Chimney come from families where those are very complicated situations.
Mm-hmm.
And even like Maddie never feeling safe enough to have kids with Doug, and Chimney adjusting to not being a kid himself, which like he's a kid at heart. Let's be so for real. Like speaking from one to another. But like he's also like, I had a great mom, lost her too soon. My dad kind of sucks. I don't know that I'll ever be ready or that I'm ready now. And they're just like, and Maddie's like, yeah, I don't know if I would be a good parent. And first of all, it's like,
Guys,
you do know,
You
Maddie,
already are a good parent.
You're already a parent. And I thought that was so funny to come after the hospital scene with Bobby and Athena, because she's like, Buck's 28 and I still have my hands full. It's like you just previously admitted that like you are Buck's pseudo mother figure. Like, but I think that was like Maddie being like hee hee ha ha, and and sometimes I think she underestimates the amount of influence and impact that she had on Buck as a role model, as a parental figure, because the two that were supposed to be there were so neglectful. Yeah. And I think Maddie is kind of in this place of maybe underestimating herself in that way, because with Buck, she talks about in Dispatch with Josh that, she doesn't know how to help Buck because he seems so lost. And she's contemplating out loud, like, I don't know whether to give him a swift kick in the butt and tell him to get back out there, or hug him and tell him it's going to be okay. So it's like she's trying to figure out whether the tough love parenting route or the gentle parenting route is going to be better for Buck. And she doesn't know what the right answer is there. So I think that's why she's like, I don't know what to do, because she's kind of still figuring it out on her first child.
Yeah.
To start to get into Buck, at the very end of that scene, Maddie and Chimney are like, are we the only people we know who don't have kids?
Great transition.
Transition. Next shot. Just Buck. Like,
and they say Buck. They were like, oh, Buck. And then transition to
Buck.
Eddie being like, this is your day with our child.
Yep. So crazy work.
Buckley.
This is your man.
This is my man. I never know where to start when it's like his
episodes. This your man?
Is this your man? Yeah, that's my man. And I'm stand by him.
I mean, it's all of ours, but like
it is. We're the show that's about Eddie, except for when it's about Buck. And this is about Buck. We are about Buck right now. Bach.
We and Bach.
And Bach. Anyway, so Buck is back and on 2 feet and down one girlfriend, which we kind of already knew was going to happen with the direction of that finale.
Yeah.
Even if we hadn't seen this before.
Did anyone in watching live, did anyone actually kind of think that like they
were going to stay together?
Yeah. Did anyone?
I didn't get that impression just watching it for the first time.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Like, was that a big question during the season 2 to 3 hiatus? Like,
that was like a soft breakup. That was very much a, we want different things. Or I don't want to ask you to change, but I can't be with someone who is doing what you want to do.
Like, a not right now is still kind of like a no.
Yeah.
Anyways,
he's back at it again. He's saving someone from a baby doll factory.
Saving dummies.
Recertified. Yeah, the family business.
Fighting fire, saving dummies.
The family business. And he's breaking records. Like he's in peak form.
So when the guy in charge of the exercise or the academy, I don't know what his position would be, says, most people just take the stairs. you have to remember that Buck just like flinging that grate open and jumping down an entire story and landing so hard on his legs that like just healed and just had a metal. That's a hard landing.
See, if Maddie knew that, she'd be pissed. Extra pissed.
She would be.
I mean, I think it'd be different if it was an actual call. But like,
yeah,
this is just his recertification.
But like that,
so taking like risks like that.
But that indicates that he would. I know he's doing it to get recertified, right? So it is a little bit of a means to an end, because not only is he going to prove that he can do it, he's going to prove that he can do it faster than anyone else can.
Yeah, and faster than he did it before.
Yes,
obviously.
So I think that is like an indicator of how he would operate back on the job too, because he's just like so ready to get back out there that like he's gonna take some of those shortcuts, and it's kind of like
chomping at the bit.
He's chomping at the bit, and he's gonna take some of those shortcuts, kind of like him taking a little bit of the shortcut with, you know, getting those surgeries maybe before was truly recommended for him to do so, and that kind of stuff. So that kind of was like, that's just where his mindset is.
Yeah, so he's like working his body twice as hard and taking risks, but he's doing that also because I feel like he doesn't want anyone to think otherwise, that he can't do the job even after after his accident. You know,
he has to prove it to everyone else as much as he proves it to himself.
He doesn't want anyone to doubt like his competency and his ability to do things, or think that he's like missed a step, or like
have any reason to doubt him. Yeah.
That he wasn't as good as he was, because like he didn't really have confidence in a lot of things about himself, but the one thing he had confidence in was his job. So he succeeds, and then Maddie takes him to Bobby and Athena's, I guess under the guise that they're going to just have dinner with Bobby and Athena. And oh my God, it's a surprise party. And he is so happy, and everyone who's surprising him looks so happy. They're so happy for him.
We're happy for him.
We are happy. I hope you're happy.
Right?
No, I was just singing. We also learned that they got 2 cakes just in case.
Yes.
Just to hedge their bets for whatever happened, which I thought was really sweet, and just, you know, typical 118 fashion celebratory cakes. And I mean, I love the puns that it's like $1 is worth $1 million, and better buck next time.
Yeah.
In case
but it's the way he worded it is that Chimney said, "We have one standby in case you crashed and burned."
Ugh.
Bro, too soon.
Yeah. Oh, he did that on purpose.
For sure.
I know. Too soon.
I mean, Chimney's just operating on like older brother-in-law
vibes and bullying
already.
Yes.
But with love.
His love language is bullying. Yes. I can relate to that. But like, it's too soon. But yeah, so he is having a gay old time. He's having so much fun because everyone he loves is there, and
for him.
Yes, for him. And he is like, I'm finally getting back to where I belong. Like, I'm glad that all of this is finally over. That's what he says to Bobby. You know, Bobby was there for him through he thanks Bobby for like being there for him through all of the like rehab appointments and the surgeries and whatever. So like Bobby has been there for him through all of this. We don't like know how involved anyone else was. So that is unusual for a boss, would you might say?
100%. That is not what my bosses would do or should be doing, but you know.
But that is absolutely what a parent would do. And it seems like Buck had both Maddie and Bobby there with him.
And he, of course, apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry. I know I wasn't like the best person to be around. I'm sure he was fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he was like marginally grumpy about it, but I'm sure he was not like insufferable. Because he had like his eye on the prize.
Yeah. Like that. Like he had his goal in mind. So he was going to do whatever it took to like reach that goal. So like, he kind of, I would think, would be like a model patient in like operational therapy and everything like that, because he would be like, yes, this is got my eye on the prize. We're going to do it. And like on his exercises, on whatever it was that he had to do, like doctor's appointments and everything. I mean, sounds like he was doing everything that he felt like he needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great that Bobby and, assuming Maddie, were also there.
I particularly love this scene because, like, it's really cool to see Buck interact with everyone.
Yeah.
Like, do we see him interact with Karen before this?
I don't think so.
Think so?
So I love that. That was an especially funny moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because he's still a little like taken aback at how how emotional she is, which is understandable.
And we get shout out mention to Karen and Eddie in the background.
Oh, for real.
While he, Buck's actively dying.
Karen and Eddie bestieism. Yes. Give it to us, please.
Give it to us.
Where are our canonical wine nights between Karen and Maddie and Eddie?
Give it to us.
I feel like we're close, actually.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Now that we have them at their house for dinner.
Like Maddie and Karen are close because of Mara.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So almost there.
So I was just going to say, we will talk about Eddie and Chris and Buck from the scene, but in slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
So
we didn't miss it.
Just have to wait again. So then we have the "you could have died, but I didn't" reprise.
Yeah. So like after everything is fine, what could go wrong? Well, here you go.
Murphy's Law loves him.
Mm-hmm. It should be renamed Buck's Law.
Well, Peter Parker's giving him a run for his money, but
that's also fair. They're very similar people, though.
They have a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. He is like once again looking at someone saying, "But I didn't," when they're like, "You could have died." And this time, though, like I kind of understand where he's coming from because like he really didn't. He wasn't actively ignoring something. He just thought it was like regular pain
fairly
from pushing his body.
Mm-hmm. Which isn't and I know we mentioned this briefly, but I think that really is like an understandable thing because sometimes things just have to be waited out and you don't know that it's more severe until it continues. And like, granted, would it have been better for him to be extra careful because of everything that had happened? Yes. However,
does extra careful strike you when you think of Buck Buckley?
No. Absolutely not.
No. I also know that this man did not have health insurance for like the time that he was like roaming around. So like I'm certain he is used to not
play into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just and I think he is like even though, Bobby and Maddie were there for him for so much of his recovery, I think he's also fairly used to dealing with this kind of stuff alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, because he doesn't want to be a burden, he doesn't want to be like, not the easiest person to be around, but he's also not like a hypochondriac. So he just thought it was nothing. I understand where he's coming from. I understand where Maddie's coming from.
I do too. Yeah.
Because like in severe cases like this, any little thing could be an indicator of a bigger issue. But
yeah.
So the you could have died.
You could have been seen.
Could have been seen.
That's exactly where my brain went.
Well, yeah. But like that is what Buck wants to be seen. You could have been seen. It's like, well, yeah, that's the point. But the you could have died, but I didn't. Counter is at 2, I think.
He's like, I don't understand why people are so caught up on this. Like, I didn't die. So what's the big deal? Like, he doesn't understand because he doesn't value his own life.
Mm-hmm. No.
And he thinks his value as a person is being a firefighter. So like, there's such a huge disconnect for him.
Yeah.
Between like people's reactions and like how he is viewing the situation.
And yeah, because like if he can't be a firefighter, then what value does he? Well, this is what he's thinking, of course. Like, what value does he have? So.
Exactly. Yeah, because you would think / hope that seeing everybody be so supportive of him at that party would kind of click in his head a little bit, like, oh, they're here for me, but that's not how his mind works, right?
Yeah.
So that hasn't really sunken in that people love him for who he is. I know Maddie said that to him in the season finale of 2, but like he's not gonna actually like,
I think,
you know,
I mean, like we'll get into this more with the lawsuit arc, but I really think the way that he thinks is that if he's not actively there around them, they'll like kind of grow apart very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So like if he can't be at work, like he's equating like being at work with like being part of that family.
And if he's not at work, he's left behind.
Yeah. And he's also equating that job as his life, not just because he finds meaning in it, but because it's what allows him to be at work with his family.
Exactly.
And so he has this anxiety about like, well, everyone leaves me, but if I make myself useful, if I make myself like, if I ingratiate myself by like, you know, being a part of the 118 family, of like always being available to help when I can, like these are all the things that I think he thinks about and how to like make himself not invaluable, because I don't think he thinks he can be invaluable.
Yeah.
So it's just how he's trying to like hold on to people, because he's like, they're going to leave me at some point. But like, if I can prevent that from happening by making sure that like I am constantly there, that's what I'm going to do.
He ends up doing that thing that we talk about so much, mostly in, I think, in the context of his romantic relationships, but he does it for his 118 family as well, where he is trying to mold himself to his perception of what he thinks they need.
Yeah.
And what he thinks that they want him to be instead of what he actually is. Meanwhile, they're all there just wanting Buck to be Buck.
Yeah.
Right. But he doesn't put any value in just being Buck. So he has to overexert himself in like mentally to squish himself into these shapes and boxes and crevices that he doesn't have to. Yeah. Because they love him for who he is. He just doesn't know that.
I think he knows that they care about him. I think he believes that and feels that. But I also think that he inherently
needs to feel valuable.
Can't accept that people will not always leave him. And that is the problem.
Yeah. And so if he has value, then they will stay.
And if he makes himself there constantly, like they are like up each other's asses when they're working, then, you know, they can't forget about him. They can't leave him because he will actively be there.
It's out of sight, out of mind when the thing he wants most of all is to be seen, like literally and metaphorically. Like if he's not there, then he can't be seen. Then he will just like disappear into the ether.
Yes. Yes. He is Tinkerbell. We've discussed this before. Yeah. He needs the claps. Moving on. We are going to talk about the scene at the 118 talking about Buck and the I quit conversation with Bobby for our scene dissection in a minute here. So I just want to briefly touch on a little bit of Eddie and Chris at Buck's, because a lot of this is in slow burn. So Eddie gives Buck his kid for therapy and a reason to live because he's run out of reasons.
Sure.
What?
Nothing. Sorry.
Oh, the shmoo-shiddle ideation.
I was like, what?
It's popping out. You know, and Christopher is kind of like this example of like how to like live your life in a way that it, you know, is full of joy, even though you have limitations.
Especially, you know? Especially in this instance, physical ones, limitations. Yes, right. And this is a great opportunity to give Buck a chance to focus on someone else. Because then that's giving him a purpose because he is feeling of service. And, you know, when they're at the pier, they're having a great time. He's making it a great day for Christopher. And then the 136 show up on a call, and he's just like looking on in like mourning / jealousy, right? And he's talking about how or he mutters to himself like the universe is mocking me. And we know that Buck Buckley, if he believes in anything, he believes in the universe. and in signs, probably more than anything else. And so it just kind of like really puts a damper on his mood because it's like reality hitting him, almost like a wave. But that
I was
but
gonna
not
say
quite
almost like it hit him like a tidal wave.
yet. Yeah, a little bit. So so that kind of just like really resets him to, you know, that like moroseness that he was feeling. And I think it's kind of at that point that we cut to Buck and Christopher talking on the bench, and you know, when he's holding Chris up by his shirt, which I think is just like, it's the framing and the blocking for that entire scene is so great. It's so like parent-child intimate sort of thing. And they have this beautiful conversation that I think when Buck talks to Chris like this, when Buck has one-on-one conversations with Christopher, so much of the time, I think it's really talking to a younger version of himself. Exactly. What Buck would have wanted to hear when he was younger. So, you know, he asks Chris what he wants to be when he grows up, as anyone would ask like a 7-year-old, right? And of course Christopher has these like fanciful, like a pirate or what was the other one? An astronaut. and then pauses and is like, no, wait, a firefighter, which is like the sweetest, cutest thing.
And Buck's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. And it's also like at the same time, you're hit with especially because we've seen what Buck is going through. We're hit with like, Chris, I don't think could ever be a firefighter because of those
physical limitations.
Yeah. He could be anything else that he wanted. Kind of like the song that's playing during the scene. You could be in what was the lyric? It was, you could have done anything if you wanted, right? And so like you see Buck basically in the same place as Christopher. They're physically limited. They're not able to kind of do that thing that they would really want. But he says like, I hope you find something you love and that you're good at, and something you could do forever, because it's going to tell you who you are and show you the rest of your life. And I hope you get that. And I hope you get to keep it specifically. And
you skipped over what I think is the most important line.
I did?
In this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Something you're good at that makes you feel like you matter.
Oh, yeah. That's something that makes you feel like you matter. And I mean, this is just Buck talking to Buck at this point. But I think it's all, and
because not everyone needs that, right? Some people can just get a job that they clock in and out of, but that's not Buck. That's not who he is. He needs that purpose. He needs that calling to feel like he's doing something that matters. And not just because of his self-worth issues, just because of who he is as a person.
Yeah. Because that's what's important. And
because he never had it before, he just thinks it's like the end of the world if he can't do this job, because he thinks that he will never find it again. That this is it.
Yeah. And it's also like, for him to say that to Christopher is also like a really beautiful way to kind of like not to avoid setting Chris up for disappointment, right? Just like, I hope you find something that you love, that makes you feel good, and that you get to do forever, and that you get to keep it. And even if it's not necessarily the one thing that you really want to do.
Yeah.
Because I highly doubt that Christopher would also either be an astronaut or a pirate. Either.
Who knows? But I just, Christopher and his infinite wisdom is so earlier, like when they're at the water gun game, when when like Buck's zoning out, Chris says, "Are you okay?" And then we get the full circle of like, Buck said all of this to Chris like it was about Chris, but Chris is like, he's only 7, but he knows that was not about him. And he's like, "You're gonna be okay, kid."
Yeah. Which is what Eddie has said to him.
I know.
Where did we see that before? Or have we seen that before? Because I know that Eddie has said that to Christopher, but like,
I don't think he says it yet. I think he says it in a scene when he's talking about like, we don't have your mom, but like, I think it's like seen in Chris's bedroom. Probably this season.
Okay, so
Or maybe in 4. I can't remember.
I think it is really interesting that we get, just with like, going back retroactively, like we know that is something that Chris learns from Eddie, and it's just like, and we've known since since Chris was introduced, like he is a very smart, intuitive kid who has like very empathetic, such a good insight into people, and for him to be like, for Christopher, I think on one level to understand that like, yeah, this day is about Buck hanging out with Christopher and doing something fun. I think Christopher knows.
How much do you want to bet that Eddie said, Buck's really sad, make sure you take good care of him, like before he dropped him off? Like I would bet any amount of money.
Oh, like $1 million. That is absolutely what happened.
Yeah.
Especially with the way that Chris gets introduced in this episode. Just like popping out of nowhere, just like, hey, Buck, in the middle of an argument. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, it's like, he knows this day is about Buck, and Buck needs this maybe more than Chris does. So
Yeah.
I love that scene so much.
It's a very good scene. Which is great because it's a little bomb before the big wave hits. What a wild fucking way to end an episode.
Yeah. Just like,
I can't imagine watching that live and having to wait an entire week.
I know. Well, they did the same thing in season 2.
I know.
Where it's like at the very, very end, and it sets up this like 2-episode arc, and it's just like the way they hook us in, so good. And they didn't even have this year for season 3. Like, remember for season 2, it was a special like Sunday, Monday, like back to back.
Yeah, no, this is
a full week in between.
Suck it up, Buttercup. You gotta wait a week.
Right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Hey! Where's the fire?
All right. So for our scene dissection today, we're going to talk about our scene dissection. We're going to talk about that scene with Buck and Bobby at the hospital, and then the following scene right after at the 118 where they're talking about Buck. Even though he's not
again,
there.
If you didn't know, this episode is about Buck.
It's about Buck.
I guess we'll kind of pick up like at the very end of like the scene before where Bobby gets the call from the chief, and we aren't clued into what the news may be, but it's pretty clear it's in some capacity about Buck. And then we get to Bobby visiting Buck at the hospital, and this is a loaded conversation, to say the least.
A loaded baked potato.
He is a potato.
It's just fully loaded.
Herbie
got all the fixins. So like Buck is like up in spirits from the last time we see him, because I think he's like probably gonna get out of the hospital soon, and like has a they don't know why the blood clots are happening yet, but like they have him on blood thinners and he's fine.
Plans. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and he is cleared by his doctors to work. To work. And
then Bobby comes and
with the wrecking
breaks
ball?
the news. And what?
He came in
like a wrecking ball.
Oh my God.
And wrecked Buck's whole mood.
Oh my God. His life.
Yeah.
More like it. So the reasoning is like, it starts because Buck's like, do I need a note? Like, do I need the clearance? Like, because he was already cleared, but because of this incident, he's just trying to see if like they need more paperwork from him.
Totally normal.
Bobby's like, you aren't cleared.
Bobby says it's because the department is concerned about liability issues with having Buck on blood thinners. And there is a pause there. Okay, and I guess this is why I think that Bobby has already made a unilateral decision for Buck in this sense anyways, because the pause that he has and the shifty eye contact where he's kind of like looking around and it's kind of like, you know, they're concerned about like shift liability issues. And it just feels like he's really kind of like obfuscating the real reasons, or like it just seems that Bobby is maybe not, or could possibly not be telling the full truth. You know, like he's omitting some things, maybe just like the shiftiness that he has. Because it's different than I think I'm disappointed for you kind of thing, if that makes sense, where it's like, I'm so sorry to tell you, like it's out of my hands sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really feel like that to me. It feels more of like, I'm going to say this, even though you've been cleared with your doctors, like
especially since that like precursing conversation with Athena.
Exactly.
I will say I just did a quick Google search. In real world, our world, you cannot be an active firefighter and be on blood thinners. Okay, it's disqualifying medication because of the risk of bleeding. It makes it unsafe for you to perform your job.
I will say, I think so. Like narratively, to me, it feels like Bobby has made that unilateral decision.
Yes,
but like if we're looking at it in like a more real world context, I understand the liability issues. And I think he was being truthful to the extent of, I'm going to do my Gemini, like two sides of the same, like devil's advocate sort of thing. So like, I feel like that could be a total possibility. But I also feel like if Bobby was telling the truth about the department is concerned about the liability issues being on blood thinners, and it'll take a couple weeks for them to like reassess, I think that would have been the truthful part. And then anything after that, like once he kind of like got off the blood thinners and was still not allowed to come back to work, that could have been Bobby. So like,
yeah,
I can read it in both situations. It just depends whether we're taking like the more real world scenario
and
or the narrative and the narrative scenario. So like, and because 911 does not often take the real world route, I'm willing to read it as, you know, Bobby made this decision sort of thing, and is therefore omitting it from Buck and is causing all of the problems that we're going to see.
Good job. Good job, Bobby.
Good job, Bobby. Best buddy, Bobby.
And the way he does, I don't know. I just feel like he could have done this in a better way too.
Yeah.
Like, especially because he does like, or he thinks that he knows how Buck operates. So I don't know how he thought this was going to go. Like, I feel like I would have come in there with a game plan of how to handle him, or I would have made Eddie do it. To be quite honest, he hired Eddie to wrangle him. So like, get the Buck Whisperer to deliver the news.
I mean, I feel like that does have to come from your captain, but I don't think Bobby was wearing his captain's hat or captain's helmet in this conversation. I think he was wearing his I'm dad, but like, you know, Bobby cap. You know, he was not having that conversation in the capacity of Buck's boss with official, you know, like decision sort of stuff. I think he was there like as his father figure, and but even so, like there was almost a lack of, I wouldn't say empathy, but just kind of like Bobby didn't really seem to fully grasp how badly Buck would take this, which seems like,
I think,
a wrong move.
I think maybe it might be that because, again, he is projecting like so much of himself onto Buck. So maybe he thought that he would take it like that Bobby himself would have taken it. Or maybe he's just doing what he thinks is tough love.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, that is tough love.
Yeah. So, but he says, well, Buck says, like, why can't I come back to work? Because, like, you know, if something were to happen to me, there's 2 paramedics right there. Like, you know how hard I've worked for this. You can't take my job away from me. And Bobby is like, no one's doing that. And you were injured in the line of duty. No one's forgetting that. And Chief Alonso just thinks that in a few weeks, you'll be okay on the meds. He can clear you for light duty. And I just feel like maybe I would have come in with like, not leading with light duty. Maybe I would have been like, here's an estimation for like, as soon as we know what's causing the blood clots and we can like get you off the blood thinners, you can come back to work. Because it seemed like a sentence of light duty forever.
Yeah. Which is a death sentence.
For him. Yes, right now. Exactly. Buck gets crazy and like I understand, but like I unfortunately understand his brain. So like this is such a like extreme reaction, but I'm also just like maybe would have done the same exact thing. And I don't know if that's like his Cancer moon and my Cancer sun, if it's that reactive thing, right? Because I don't think this is a Libra thing.
No, it's not. I actually wrote that in my notes. I was like, when Bobby tells him about the light duty thing, which Buck takes as a death sentence, he makes a split decision to just completely quit because what's the use of him if he's at a desk and not fulfilling his life's purpose? Might as well just like die. But I think that
but that's how he feels.
I wrote down in my note because at this point our astrology episode has been out. So his Cancer moon is giving that emotional reaction, that very like viscerally emotional reaction for the loss of the persona that he's fostered in his Leo rising, getting ripped violently away from him. It's nothing to do with the Libra at all at this point.
No, because it's all emotion.
It's all emotion, and it's emotion in the way that it relates to the persona that his Leo rising gives him, where like his whole persona of being a firefighter is so tied to that. And so his emotion of that aspect of his self, which at this point kind of is his entire sense of self.
Yeah.
Just like ripped away. And like the way that Buck takes Bobby's news, it's like he's been struck by a bullet. Right? Because there's like a double.
Yeah, it's like you gave him a death blow.
Yeah, it's like a double take, and he just kind of like, what are you telling me right now? And he's acting.
It was literally the words light duty that like he was triggered.
Yeah,
but light duty pushed him over the fucking edge. Like he was trying to maintain. He's like, well, you can't take it. Like that's very meaningful to me. Like you can't. I've worked really hard, and now he said light duty, and he's like, light duty. The way he says it.
Light duty.
Well, it's also like because he says this, he's like he spent 5 months fighting to get back to his job, and it's like you're gonna give me light duty after all of that.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I would also be upset. Actually,
it's a desk job.
Like, do you not know how hard I work to just?
Do you know how many demotions that would have to be from like where he's at?
Oh yeah.
Like, metaphorically, like to go from what he's doing to doing a desk job. Like I don't know how to like correlate that to us people who don't do active like first responder jobs.
How does a desk job even work in that either?
Well, we see him do it
even without the physicality. I mean, just like say that you have like a job that where you need to be out in the field. Imagine someone's like you cannot do it. Whether it like again taking out the physicality of it all, like you signed up to be doing that specific thing, not to be sitting parked behind a desk. So
exactly. And
I'd be pissed.
You signed up to like travel to like be a representative who traveled the world, right? And they're like, no, we're gonna stick you in a cubicle in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Specifically,
Milwaukee. Shout out to Wisconsin.
So sorry, Meg. That's not where she's from, but I was in Milwaukee actually for Ren Fair in July for Meg's birthday. Yeah, so I just want to read what he said because, like, I don't know. We just kind of got to talk about like the specific wording because it really is. Buck understands Bobby way better than Bobby understands Buck.
Yes, I think that's
true.
I
think that's part of what is also so frustrating about it for Buck because Buck thinks that Bobby sees him and understands him. So when he treats him like this,
like a kid.
Yeah, like a kid. But when he treats him in a way that like seems discordant for who Buck is taking it as like a personal, like a decision that Bobby's actively making because he thinks Bobby understands him fully, but he doesn't.
Right.
So Buck says, after he's like, light duty, you mean a desk job? And Bobby tries to be like, listen, Buck, and tries to like reason with him. And Buck's gone. Buck has, sorry, the old Buck can't come to the phone right now.
Buck has left the building mentally.
Because he's dead.
You just killed him.
Essentially. Might as well be.
He's like out there in the world helping people. That is where I belong. That is where I have spent 5 months fighting to get back to. And now you're going to tell me I can't? And then again, Bobby tries to interrupt him. And he's like, no, I don't want light. And he says light duty again. Okay.
Light
and neither
duty.
would you.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Bobby has stopped trying to interrupt him at this point because he's like, all right, I'll let him go off on his thing. And Buck is just like very determined and is like, no, they're not putting me behind a desk. I quit. And Bobby's like, what the fuck? Just
went from 0 to 180.
Yeah, it really does. But like Buck also says, like, they can't do this to me. You can't let them do this to me.
Yes.
And I think that also kind of plays into my kind of thinking that like if it is Bobby actually like kind of taking this autonomy away from Buck and not the department in general, like that makes the betrayal so much worse because he's looking to Bobby to advocate for him, right? And Bobby doesn't do that, or we don't see Bobby do that, and that's why I feel like this was Bobby's decision.
Bobby thinks he is
everything
advocating
else.
for him is the thing.
Yes, but he's not advocating for Buck in the way that Buck needs, and it's like, and just the way that when Buck, just circling back a little bit, Buck is like, I can't come back to work, just like totally. Just like bewildered, like Buck bothered and bewildered, literally, and it's like the emotion that we hear in Buck's voice during this whole scene, like when this blow gets laid upon him, we don't often hear Buck like that enraged, right? He's usually. And even when he's irritated or aggravated, he's usually
this is why he's not a Cancer son.
And this is why he's not a Cancer son. This is
if
why
he was a Cancer son, he would be like this
all the time. But he's
all the time.
He's not. He's usually a lot more even keeled.
Yeah.
But like the amount of like how enraged he is at the hand of the cards that he's been dealt, and just the way that Oliver Stark uses his voice, like this. Hurt is emanating from like the deepest pits of his stomach. Reminds me so much of the speech that he gives to his parents in Buck Begins in 405, and like this is kind of the same thing, right? Because in both cases he's dealing with his parental figures
being like, this job is dangerous,
but more than that, he's dealing with his parental figures that are disappointing him. They are disappointing him. Because, and on top of the fact that he feels like he's a disappointment to them. So like it's this rejection of Buck from his parental figures. That is where that betrayal is really coming from, because he tries so hard to impress his parental figures, whether it's his parents, whether it's Bobby, and to realize that in this moment, to have it dawn upon him that like they are not impressed with him, and that basically in his way of thinking, he is being a disappointment to them when he's tried so hard. It's that same kind of emotionality that we see with Bobby and in Buck Begins with his biological parents. Because just like put those scenes next to each other, the way he talks is the same. And I don't think we hear him speak like that any other time. You know, like I'm not gonna do an impression, but the way he's like, you know, there's 2 paramedics right next to me. I'll be fine. Like
we hear him not as vehement, obviously, but we hear him tap into this sometimes. Yeah, but it's a little more flippant. Like when he's breaking up with Taylor. Yeah, I can think that this is like similar, but like not as.
I would say that's a different. He's tapping into a different part of himself for that, because he's not dealing with like parental role sort of thing. Like he's being disappointment in another way.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it is his emotion jumping out, but because it isn't his parents, it's like the same tone, but it's more, it's not as in your face.
It's a different kind of feeling when his parental figures that he puts so much stock in trying to impress are disappointing him.
Kind of taps into that tone of voice when he's talking to Eddie about Anna. And it's like, that's not how you talk about someone that you love. I've been, and like when he taps into that emotion, that's when that tone of voice pops out. But yeah, you're right. I think the parental scenes are the ones where it's like visceral.
Yeah, like
because it's like raw. It's like the wounded child inside of him is like making it impossible for him to like rein it in at all.
It's almost like he's acting kind of like a cornered animal, like very who's afraid of little old me. Right?
So true. I love how self-referential we can be.
Right?
Oh, the buddy system lore.
Go listen to our Tortured Poets department. That's the part 1, I think. Yeah, just at the very end, after Buck storms off, the shot stays on Bobby there, just kind of being like...
He's like, what the fuck happened?
This did not go as expected.
Which shows you that he does not understand Buck yet. And he thinks he understands Buck because he's sitting there like, what the fuck happened? Because he would not react like that. And in his mind, Buck is just like mini him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting, too, that Buck is the one to leave the conversation because we so often see Buck being the one that is being left. So even though he leaves physically first, I think in essence, he's still feeling left because
he's feeling abandoned because he's not being supported.
Yeah. So that was him taking like whatever autonomy that he could to just like extricate himself from the situation.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about talking about Buck.
Yeah, so then we flash forward and we're taking on the road together. It's a week later and we're at the 118 in the kitchen because that's
where we do family business.
Oh yeah. Heart to hearts in the kitchen.
So true. And big brother Chim is worried, but Bobby says like Maddie said Buck hasn't left the apartment in a week. Which I talked about earlier, going like, oh, it's cute that they talk. Like, wish they could talk about better things.
Yeah.
But big brother Chim is like, yeah, she's trying to get him to go out, but like, it's always, why would I need to leave? Everyone deliver.
I know. Which is practical and true.
Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're worried that Buck is just like deep depressive diving.
I mean,
He is.
And they're not sure how to pull him out. Bobby is like upset because Buck won't take his calls. And
that means Buck is really upset.
And I'm just like, Bobby, you did this to yourself. I do not understand how you didn't see this. Your wife told you.
Right.
And this is just the beginning of the fallout. Like,
oh, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. Bobby, of course he's mad at you.
It's almost like when you try to make decisions for your adult children, they get a little cranky about that. But speaking of cranky, then Eddie's like, he's just sulking Cap. He'll get over it. And Hen's like, yeah, I like giving him shit as much as you guys do. But like, this was a body blow. Like he's allowed time to be depressed about it.
And it's just like, it's interesting because this is one of those moments where I think Hen has really tapped into Buck more than anyone else. Even Eddie, which is not too often. But I think Eddie's speaking from what he's experienced with his family sort of thing.
Well, I don't think, because Eddie's looking at it from his own perspective. And in Eddie's experience, he would be feeling as emotionally turmoil, as much emotional turmoil about this as Buck would, as we see in season 6. But Eddie is like, well, I just shove it down. That works for me. Like, but he's just sulking. He'll get over it.
Repressing is not getting over things, Eddie.
No, that's not what it is.
Not everyone is you.
Yeah.
That's just a volcano ready to rupture.
So it's not that I think he doesn't understand why Buck is upset.
Yeah.
I think it's just
No, he gets
like,
why.
I think it's another situation of projecting, right? Or like Bobby's projecting, Eddie is projecting. So that's why he's sulking. Because like Eddie's like, if I was acting like this in this situation, like I'd be like, why don't you just like move on?
Yeah.
But Chimney's worried
Yeah.
because he's like, okay, well, because Hen says like he needs time to mourn, right? And Chimney's like, well, but the question is like, how long is that? Do we let him do it? Because the daily routine from like the bed and couch is not helping his situation. Because that's not going to help him not get blood clots.
From a practical standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, from literally not standing. Like you need to move around.
Be active, like even though he can't be like on the job active.
But walking, he can walk around.
Yeah.
But just walking the like, what is it? 20 feet?
Buck loves short walks from the refrigerator to the couch. Like
But then Eddie brings out the line that I talked about earlier in the foreshadowing. It was like, look, life sucks, but like
that's life, right?
It's life. Whenever stuff didn't work out for me, my dad always told me to brush it off, keep moving forward. It wasn't easy, but he wasn't wrong. Are we sure? Are we still sure about that?
Nope.
And like none of them touch that at all.
No. They're literally like, we don't have time to unpack all that. And you know what? Maybe they should have.
Maybe they should have been like, pause on Buck.
Yeah.
Can you expand?
Say more.
Maybe we'll stop you from like getting with your wife's. Yeah, well, there's that.
Well, the doppelganger,
the fight club, the
the repression. This should have absolutely been ringing some alarm bells in everyone else's heads, but they're so focused on Buck, understandably, because Buck is the heart of the 118
and he's
family.
The baby brother.
Oops, the heart of the 118 family, and he's the baby brother. Exactly,
he's the baby brother. And he's the son. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But Hen makes a great point because to what Eddie says, she's like, but move forward to what? Because all of them have had lives and jobs before they entered the department, and they have things outside of it. Buck, what does Buck have? That is what Buck has. And like, everything that Buck has outside of the job, right? Outside of firefighting is inextricably tied to the job.
The only person who isn't there that he has is Maddie. Everyone else in his life,
with Chimney,
exactly.
So she's like as good as like
exactly
because like Buck couldn't hang out with Maddie and Chimney without thinking of the rest of the 118. So it's like, what? Maddie's not going to hang out with her boyfriend, like
Ugh. So, and then Bobby's like, Buck has us, even though he may not believe that right now. And I'm like,
Bobby, do you really believe that? Because I don't think that you're being there for Buck in the way that you think you're being there for Buck.
No.
And that's kind of the dissonance there, right? Yeah. Because what's interesting then is Maddie and Bobby are parenting Buck in ways that Buck doesn't necessarily need or don't jive with how he needs to be parented. Not that he really needs to be parented, but you understand what I mean.
No, but like the support, like even when you're an adult, like having that support of your parent is different than having the support of your other family members or friends. It's different.
But I just want to say, like, for the end of our scene dissection,
yes,
just saying, what does Buck have? Buck has us. Shot to Eddie. That's it.
Welcome to season 3.
It's
Buddy.
gay.
It's gay. This is one of the gayest arcs of all time.
The season 3, yeah.
Just this is 3-episode arc. So just because we just came off of the scene dissection talking about the station scene, I just want to like continue to wrap that up in the slow burn section. So Hen says, we all have shit outside of this. What does Buck have? Well, the answer is that he has Eddie and Christopher. because they answer that question with, panning to Eddie right at the end of that scene.
Yeah.
And then later when Eddie shows up at his place with Christopher, after again going, oh, who doesn't have kids? Oh, it's Buck. And then
those choices are so deliberate.
Yeah, it really is.
These are choices, TM.
In the editing.
TM for Tim Minear.
TM for Tim Minear. No, for real. Stop. Choices, TM.
Oh my God. So when Bobby says he has us, like Buck has us, even though he may not believe that right now, Bobby gives Eddie a look.
Yes.
A look.
TM?
Because I don't think Bobby liked what Eddie was saying.
No, that was ringing a couple alarm bells in his mind.
Yes.
Just like, oh, this is interesting.
And that was his boss gentle parenting that he does,
Mm-hmm.
So like some words and a look, he has us, even though he might not believe that right now. And Eddie's like, oh, that's why he's depressed. He doesn't think that he actually has us, that we won't be there for him if he's not a firefighter. I'll fix that. Right. Yeah. So that's where he gets the idea.
You see Eddie's like gears start to turn. It's like,
yes.
Okay, how can I fix this for him?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he looks, and this, I don't know, this might be me reading too much into facial expression, but he looks a little guilty for a second. Like, oh, all right. Maybe he isn't just being dramatic.
No, I see that.
Like he is being dramatic, but like.
Yeah, it's kind of like thinking twice about it. Like, oh, instead of looking at from my perspective,
looking at it from Buck's.
Yeah. Like maybe this isn't the usual kind of sulking that Eddie would do and then get over it.
Yes.
Because this is Buck and he feels so deeply about things.
Yeah, but then, I mean, just to jump off of the words that Eddie said, he's like, well, how can I help Buck and give him the thing that makes him brush it off and keep moving forward? Because that's, the mantra that he has in the situation. What helps Eddie always brush it off and keep moving forward?
Christopher.
His kid.
Every time. Because Christopher is Eddie's life's purpose. So he's like, okay, Buck doesn't feel like he has a life purpose right now. I'm going to give him a purpose. And that purpose is taking care of Christopher. Which I think is kind of the perfect answer to Maddie's dilemma earlier about how to parent Buck, because Maddie was like, I don't know whether to like give him a kick in the butt and tell him to get over it or give him a hug.
He does give him both of those things, because he gives him the kick in the butt and then Christopher gives him the hug and says it's going to be okay, kid.
Exactly. So like
that's on purpose, right?
I think it is, because it's like
that's
that
gotta be, because
the way Eddie ends up dealing with Buck is not parenting him like Maddie or Bobby, which obviously we see is not working, right? And they're and even Maddie and Bobby are taking like slightly different approaches. Eddie is not parenting Buck. Eddie has figured out a way how he can still have Buck's back even when they're not partners at work, because they're still partners. So he's giving Buck a purpose, something to live for, something to like get him out of bed. And that is also the thing that gets Eddie out of bed in the morning. And he's not forcing, but he's basically like forcing Buck's hand. Is like, here, my kid's here. You're going to spend the day. You don't have a choice in it. Bye. But like, that's not really what happens. By allowing Buck to take care and look after Chris, it's a job that Buck takes very seriously.
Yeah.
Because Buck knows how important Chris is to Eddie. So even in that way, so like Eddie is having Buck's back by giving him something that gives Buck a purpose. But Buck is also seeing it as having Eddie's back. And right now that is his purpose is taking care of Christopher and having Eddie's back by taking care of Christopher when he can't have his back at work. And that's not anywhere near parenting Buck.
No,
it's partnering.
It's partnering. With Buck. It's going, how can I be there for my partner? Yeah. Okay. Welcome to the surprise party and welcome to Needledrop Buddie version, our very first definitely not our last. I'm sure we'll have another one in 2 episodes. Where I'll talk about Sill's
you're gonna
favorite
lead that
song.
One. Please.
Sure.
We'll have Sill's like soapbox to talk about. That
Okay, fine.
You can go on your
It's gonna be bad opinions. I can just feel it.
It's gonna be funny.
It's gonna be
A photograph is so controversial in this fandom because people either like love it or hate it. It's so funny
I've
to me.
never seen anyone hate it. But anyway,
really?
No.
I've seen other people who don't like it.
I need to talk to them then.
Yeah.
Spoiler
Stay
alert.
tuned.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so when Buck shows up at the surprise party, like after they surprise him, Come and Get Your Love by Redbone plays, which if you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you might not be familiar with, but if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you know Come and Get Your Love.
Which is also very found family. Like,
yes, literally found family. I'm not going to get deep into these lyrics because they don't play a lot of it. Come and Get Your Love is the chorus, just repeated. Come and get your love. So the first Come and Get Your Love, he's like pseudo hugging Athena. Like, I don't know what they did. They like touched hands and like did this.
like, yes.
It was very cute.
Buck and Athena are not like the huggy type. Like,
no, they kind of aren't. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Then he turns around and Bobby.
Oh my God.
And Eddie's like vibrating out of his skin. Like, I just want to talk about how like when they say surprise, Eddie, I've never seen him look that happy.
No.
Up to this point,
I don't
that's the
think
happiest he's ever looked.
I don't think he's known happiness of that magnitude.
Until that moment.
Except when Chris was born.
Well, yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah. But it's a different kind of happy.
Yeah.
Like, this was just like, my husband's home from war.
Oh my God.
This is as close to like Eddie being the puppy, like wagging his tail, like getting ready to like,
yeah, that we
are we
get.
gonna go play?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
As close as Eddie's ever gonna get to that, because Buck is the golden retriever in this relationship.
Eddie is the cat in this relationship. Let's be real. Yeah, so Bobby pushes Eddie forward.
Go get
Not
your
that
man.
He needed that much encouragement, but pushes him forward. And then we get our second buddy hug ever. Oh my God, there's like, but it's 2 episodes back to back.
That's like 5 months apart, but
incredible. Well, I know, but like
it's a good run
considering
so far.
how little hugs we have. Just like that, they were 2 episodes. Like it's literally the finale and then the premiere. Seems notable. And yeah, so they hug. It's very cute. Buck can use both hands this time because he's not on crutches. Eddie's hand just lingers on his waist. Like, no one's trying to steal him from you. Calm down.
All of this to the chorus of Come and Get Your Love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Insane editing, insane overlay. I was like, come and get your love. You mean come and get Eddie's love? Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's welcome home. Come and get your love. Yes, your love from everyone. But like, here's the first one that I'm shoving towards you. I picked him out just for you.
Exactly. And I think that is an interesting choice too, to have Eddie be the first one to like to welcome him back into the fold officially. And it's not like and it's not Bobby, right? Especially in an episode where it's very parental. But it is this is the one parental thing that Bobby did right in this episode, where he gave Eddie the go ahead.
Yeah.
Or we could switch around and say he gave Buck Eddie again.
Yes.
Yes. He's like, you have my blessing. Go.
Yeah. And but also the way that Eddie like did not step forward of his own volition, because I think he was just too like,
oh my God, he's literally vibrating out of his skin. Like he is so happy. He is so cute.
Well, he was
his little green shirt, which I clocked. I was like, interesting. This is like totally grasping at straws.
We love straws.
Okay. Green shirt. We didn't know that Buck had broken up with Allie yet. There it is.
Oh, okay.
It's denoting that there is a breakup. And we find out about the breakup.
Okay. I'll take it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, it took me a second. I was like, wait, when did we? Oh,
makes sense to me.
Yeah, because he talks about it at this surprise party to Bobby. So yes, we have the hug, we have the hand lingering on the waist, which haunts my dreams, and then we have the scene where Eddie is encouraging Chris to give Buck his card that he made him.
Yeah.
And the song Lonely As I Am by Creature Canyon is playing. And good luck Googling the lyrics to that. They don't exist. So this is what I could decipher and why I thought it was meaningful to talk about. So yes, this is Christopher giving Buck the card, but like Eddie is right there. It's very much a scene of the three of them. And Eddie keeps interjecting information like about the card and about Christopher into the conversation. So the lyrics are way back when we were on track, meaning like I'm taking it to mean like when they were active partners at work, right?
But also on track. Sorry.
Do you miss us ever want it back? And it's hard for me not to look back. And gone are the days of my longing. So it's like Eddie missed them and Buck missed them, like being partners at work. And now they think that they're going to like get it back. So like they're not going to be lonely. They're not going to be longing for that anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
What?
Oh. Did you get your own moment?
No, I was.
We have so many moments per episode. We should do a counter for that.
No, I was just thinking like gone are the days of my longing. Do you ever miss us? Ever want it back? It's hard for me to not look back. The fact that this plays over with Christopher and Buck, like Christopher having just lost his mother, like something about how this is a half-baked thought, but something about how Christopher's family being back on track with Buck and Eddie, and how they are a family unit, and now they're able to be back on track. I don't know. Something about that?
Are we saying Shannon interrupted their family track and now they're getting back on track?
I would say that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you know, his family unit, like the family unit of Christopher and Eddie and Shannon was broken because like it technically had always been broken, but broken irreparably because Shannon died. So now, like, not to equate Buck as a stand-in for Shannon because he's not, but he is a parental figure for Chris. So to like be back on track with two loving parent figures again, I think that's how
they already started establishing that in the second season when we have Buddy the Elf.
Blair,
who says,
shout out
Blair, who says, you do have an adorable son.
Okay, in that sense, which was kind of thrown off track with Eddie and Shannon.
That's what I'm saying
back
is
together.
Because we don't see, not to say, and again, we don't hate Shannon on this show.
I love Shannon.
She loves Shannon. I have complicated feelings about her, but I don't hate her.
I think Shannon is a fascinating character. She's
a fascinating character. Yeah, I just have issues with her leaving Chris.
I don't defend the choices that she makes.
No.
But I love her as a character.
Yeah, but anyway, we're just saying that like Buck, Eddie, and Christopher were becoming like a unit who did a lot of things together. And like that seemed to, on screen, stop when Shannon showed up for the most part. Or like after he decided to, after that trip to Buddy the Elf, it seemed to stop. You know what I mean? Once Shannon showed up. So like it was them getting off track and now it's them getting back on track that way and with work, allegedly, which doesn't happen, but they think it's going to.
Yeah. That's interesting. Love that.
Anything else about that before we go to the apartment? Because we gotta.
Can I just say one quick thing so we can finish on the apartment? The scene with Maddie and Chimney when they're talking about having kids and everything like that and how they're kind of like tossing popcorn at each other and just like very playfully, very flirty. We've seen that.
What does that remind you?
We will see that later on.
We see this film again. Instead of we've seen this film before, we see this film again.
We will see this film again. So, I mean, just to like establish the like popcorn throwing thing as like a flirty banter between romantic partners. That's just interesting that we will see it again. What was it? Season 7? Yeah. Also when Eddie is dropping their kid off at Buck's. That's, just interesting. And there's a little like banter, a little like tossing popcorn at each other.
Interesting.
Just an interesting little parallel.
I didn't think about the dropping off part.
Only difference is that in one of them, he's making a bad decision.
Yeah. So just to like establish that kind of rapport again that like Maddie and Chimney have together, where it's like that bantery, that kind of playful energy, and to parallel Maddie yet again to Buddie, even though this is like way down the line. Just
but still
saying it's there. Yeah.
So yeah, and then again, I know we mentioned it a couple times, but now we're going to mention it. But gay is is at the end of the Maddie scene. They're like, "Are we the only people who we know who don't have kids?" And then they're like, "Fuck!" And then pans immediately to Eddie ripping the sheets off of Buck
very violently,
which tells us several things. One, he has a key to Buck's house. His apartment, his loft, whatever. He has no problem making himself and Christopher a home in there. He apparently has no issues ripping off the sheets of Buck, who's asleep, not knowing what he's wearing underneath this blanket.
I didn't even think about that, honestly.
Because they were like over his head. So he could have been just like buck ass naked.
Oh you. And
he didn't just like pull them off his head. He like yanked them off his entire body.
With like
bro, chill.
Enthusiasm. Very, very interesting. So we see Buck with like the covers right over, like fully over his head, which again, I think we mentioned this in one of the season 2 episodes. Maddie at one point said to Chimney when they were, having that sad pasta first date dinner thing that, that's something that she wanted to do is just like bury her head and like hide under the covers
over her head.
Yeah. So it's a Buckley family trait.
Yeah, and then this is where we see Eddie kind of doing the partner thing because, your partner like shouldn't really coddle you. Like if you need emotional support, then yes, they should absolutely support you emotionally. But what Buck does need now is to get his ass kicked a little bit. Like he needs to forcefully be made to move, just like for his physical health, first of all.
Yeah,
he's got to move for his physical health, and he needs to touch some fucking grass. Like, bro is depressed. Okay, so this is the like partner tough love, right?
It's leveling with Buck and saying like, it's saying you're gonna do this for your benefit, but without like the added way of saying it coming from parental role, right? Like this is an equal peer to peer sort of situation, right?
Yeah,
I can't really articulate why it's so different. I mean, not any more than I already did, but like it just feels so much different than like
it's just
Maddie or Bobby. Like if they were to do that for him, if they were to rip the covers off.
It's how Eddie goes about it, and I think it's just because of how Buck is way more receptive to receiving things from Eddie.
So true.
Because there isn't that sort of like expectation of like needing to please a parent or needing to like
there's no power balance.
A certain role.
There's no power imbalance there of parent child.
Yeah.
Because Buck and Eddie are equal partnership. We always say that.
Eddie's like, you need to get up, get out of the house, take a walk, like get some fresh air. And Buck's like, why? What's the point? I really don't have. You have to get up. No, I really don't have to. Like, I really have nowhere to go. I quit my job.
Yeah. They're having like a whole tiff about this whole thing, like loudly. They're filling up the sound in that loft. Well, then we also get it could have killed you, but it didn't, part 3.
Yes. But it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different because he's like, your life isn't over just because you're not a firefighter. And he's like, says the firefighter. He's like, it almost killed you, but it didn't. And you have your whole life ahead of you. So why don't you take it as a win and stop feeling sorry for yourself? Mm-hmm. And I feel like Buck was about to like argue a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he brought
the baby.
He had his ace up his sleeve.
He really did.
Couch.
And can I just say really quickly before we bring up Chris, the fact that Eddie said the entire argument, it could have killed you, but it didn't. With everyone else, like Maddie and Allie were saying it could have killed you, and Buck is the one to say, but it didn't.
But it didn't.
So Eddie, by saying all of that, he already knows like how Buck is thinking of this, and he's put that into. He understands Buck's perspective on this, and he's taking that into account, which no one else has done as much.
Because with everyone else, it's like, it could have killed you, and like they're angry and concerned or worried and like treating him with like
kid gloves.
Exactly. But kind of like, I'm just concerned about losing you.
Yeah.
Right. We're like, why didn't you take your own, like, yeah, no, Maddie and Bobby are both treating him like you're not taking your own health seriously enough. Right. It could have killed you.
Yeah.
And you don't seem to like.
And Buck is the one to be like,
that.
But it didn't. I'm still here.
And Eddie is the one who understands, like, it could have killed you, but it didn't. So why aren't you taking this as a win? Like, you're alive. You have your whole life ahead of you. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not over just because you're not a firefighter.
Yeah. So I like that he...
Case in point, here's your kid.
Exactly. The way they're having this kind of, like, light argument and then just, like, all of a sudden... Hey, Buck, just like out of nowhere. Like again, I mean, we'll probably be talking about this again. When they do like the kitchen scene, like you want to go for the title, like Chris is right there. They're having this discussion, this like grown up discussion. Chris is right there. His ears are fine. Like he's hearing this whole thing.
The Christopher Chronicles of watching his dad and his Buck be weird about each other for
just like circling around
how many
each other.
Years?
Too many.
I would break a salad bowl too if like they were like this with each other, and then Dad brought home my teacher who like I didn't super like that much.
Yeah, I mean,
Buck's right there. You're being weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Chris really is the ace up Eddie's sleeve because he knows that Buck would never like turn down an opportunity to hang out with Chris.
Right. And he's never going to like let his anger show around Chris. He's never going to.
Exactly.
He's going to be what he needs to be for Chris. Like Christopher comes first before his own emotions, needs, wants.
Chris is the ultimate like way to diffuse whatever Buck is feeling, right? Because just like Eddie, Buck will put Chris first,
which is what a parent does. And that was my other point from the beginning of saying like, here's all the points of like Eddie just showing up. He didn't even like probably think twice about like Buck will watch my kid all fucking for what, a 12-hour shift probably, at least, is what he was going to. Like, no, Buck's got him.
I could have said no.
I don't need to ask,
but you knew I wouldn't.
But you knew I wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. He already knows that now.
Yeah, I think Eddie knew that since 204.
Probably. He already knew it here. It shows us here before the tsunami. And then we really see after the tsunami, which we'll talk about in episode 3. Yes. But like he already, even before like he saved Christopher's life, he already trusts him like implicitly with his kid, and trusts Buck to like take care of him and not even needing to be asked.
Yeah, it's already a co-parenting situation.
Yes.
Like how much more clear can it get? And it's because they are partners and they have each other's backs, and it goes so much beyond like just regular partnership, just regular friendship, because it's just like they don't even have to ask each other because they just understand implicitly.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie knows that this is the thing that's going to make Buck feel better, and it benefits all three of them as a family unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess just to leave off, Eddie, the last thing Eddie says is, so take him out, have some fun, and maybe you'll learn something. He never feels sorry for himself.
Mm-hmm. And that lands, I think, exactly where he intends for Buck. Yep.
Because we see him, like, you know, with Chris, and he is kind of somber. He is kind of more subdued, like, after he sees the fire engine or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, the universe is mocking me, but he is contemplative because it's like he's thinking about, like, what am I going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And no one's been able to get him to think about that, even remotely, until Eddie did this.
Yeah, it's like, and it's because Buck has that opportunity to explore a life purpose that is not surrounding the job, but is surrounding his family specifically, which is Chris, which is Eddie, which is the 118. So by Eddie inherently, and I don't think he even really truly understands how big this would be, but Eddie is helping shift Buck's life purpose to that. So then that opens it could open the door for something else for Buck while keeping him, like, buoyed, right? And that is those other things that Hen was talking about in the kitchen with everybody. And it just helps, like, round out Buck's life a little more. It makes his life a little more rich because he has that role as Christopher's Buck, his second dad. And it just shows, like, how, like, on the mark and instinct this was of Eddie to do for Buck.
I also think that it's impactful that Eddie brought Christopher into this as his ace. You know, it's because, like, he is a child with those physical limitations. And I remember in the Christmas episode, in season 2, you know, Buck says that, you know, that kid is an inspiration.
Yes. Oh, thank you for bringing this back in. Yeah.
Because, again, like Eddie says, Christopher's not sitting around feeling sorry for himself. It's so, like, Buck can look up to Christopher, you know, to get him to, I guess, his, like, that next step in life, or try to, like, move on.
No, I think that's a great point. I didn't even fully connect it because, like, Eddie does know. Okay, maybe he does know how big of a thing this will be for Buck.
Well, it's also like a child with, like, physical limitations. I mean, there are things that he's probably not going to get to do, even though he wants them. So that's where that whole conversation on the pier, like, comes in. So. Yeah.
And I think that also kind of helps pave the way for, like, when they do the skateboard later. That's in season 3, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. It's just
this season
is just, like, parent coded all over. And so much of it
parent and partner coded.
Parent and partner. And so much of it is focused on Buck and Eddie and Christopher specifically.
Damn, it really is.
Yeah.
Like, took a step back for a second. I was like, wait,
like, this is only the first episode.
Like, they're setting this up completely.
Our next 2 episodes, what are we talking about? Oh, Buck and Christopher. Still. And then Buck and Christopher and Eddie.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, it's setting it up in everything but in name, right?
Well, I'm in. Eddie puts it.
And then it does. And then it does. That's the thing. And then it does set it up in name. And it's like, it's this close to being like, no, you are the father. You are the father now. Like,
yeah. Mari voice.
You are the
father.
Yeah, it's just like, it's why?
Yeah.
Why are you setting it up like this so hard? season-long arc if not to pave the way?
They were.
I know.
They were.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know. Just like, I'm sure it will be a thing throughout the rest of the season, and especially in season 4, I will just be like, but why if not that? Just like me, just like yelling into like, but why would they do that if they weren't going to do that?
There is no heterosexual explanation.
No.
There isn't.
And then bringing the first ex back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No.
Abby.
Well, not to bring this into it, but really quick, I'm just saying, if you swapped the gender of one of them, no one would be thinking that this was not leading towards
something romantic. Because it would be like that classic will they, won't they, right?
It would be Gilmore Girls.
It would be Gilmore Girls.
Someone brought up that point on TikTok like almost a month ago. And I literally went, oh my God, it's Gilmore Girls. It would be Gilmore Girls.
Except Eddie is Luke. Because Grumpy and Sunshine.
Well, personality wise, but I just meant that like.
Yes, with the dynamic there.
Well, I guess Luke has a kid too, but I pretend that storyline doesn't exist.
No.
Anyway, that's gay. I sees gay, I says gay. I see family, I says family.
Yeah.
Why theme parent and child?
If not,
why all of this if not setting up for parent-child and nuclear family?
This is just going to be our rhetorical question in so much of season 3 and season 4. So sorry, you're going to keep hearing it again. Like, just why, if that's not what you were going for? Like, actually give us an answer.
Yeah.
Because there isn't another one that we can, like, trying to take, like, the shipper goggles off and our little analytic hat on. It doesn't make sense otherwise.
No, it really does not, story-wise. I'm also interested, like, sometimes how much of this is structured out by the showrunner and then how much is, like, written. You know, like free reign embellished by the writer. Because it is a theme the whole season. I'm assuming it's an overarching thing that Tim Minear was like, this is the plan for the season and you write what you want, but here are the beats you got to hit. Which
is how a writer's room works with multiple writers doing different episodes. So there you get the through line of the season arc threaded through the smaller episodic arcs. And I really think, like, because this sets up, again, what I said at the very beginning, it's such a tight thematic season. I think it was kind of nailed down very early on.
I'm sure.
Like, we're going to start here with them and go there.
And the Chris, Buck, Eddie stuff started last season.
Yeah.
So that's just a
I
continuation.
think it was always part of the plan.
Yeah. Actually, that made me remember that I have an anecdote from Allie. Yeah. This is our friend Allie from TikTok. I think you can find her other places. We'll link it like in the description. It's Allie _ Dominguez. She messaged us yesterday and said, I was watching the Tsunami episodes because she was in our live stream where we brought them up. And so she was rewatching them. And she was like, we're back at like Chris, we're at the pier. So like in this episode, right? And her husband was like, who is that little boy? And she said, oh, that's Eddie's son. And she said he was really confused watching this episode when he saw Buck and Chris because he knew Buck, but he was confused about Chris. And he watched season 1, but like didn't watch any of the rest of it. Right. So he doesn't know
he doesn't know really about Eddie.
Like, no, I think like probably like loosely, like because of how into it she is now. But he said that he always knew Buck was into men and he thought Eddie and Buck were together and had a son. So like based on that. And then was really confused when Buck had a different boyfriend. Oh no.
Yeah, that would be confusing, wouldn't it? Huh?
TJ was also confused when I explained Tommy to him.
Right?
He was like, wait. He was like, wait. Buck is out. He came out as bi, but he's not with Eddie. Who is he with? And I was like, funny story, you should ask.
Goes on to explain the whole.
But yeah, that's just so funny because like her husband only watched season 1 and was like, yeah, no, Buck is absolutely in the middle.
I mean, he must have obviously watched the tapeworm calls.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious.
No, that's cute.
Remember, don't have an embolism.
But if you do,
take a buddy with you.
Thank you for listening to the Buddy System podcast from start to finish.
We literally cannot shut up about 911, so please come talk to us on your favorite social media platform.
We're at Buddy System Pod everywhere. That's BUDDIE System Pod.
Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get a personal shout out in the next episode. The Buddy System is a Nerdvergent media production featuring music from Divinity.
Can't get enough of the buddies? Subscribe to our Patreon for access to exclusive content in our Discord community.
Catch you next time. And don't forget,
Bring a buddy with you.